Okay, we are continuing on with our lesson from yesterday. So 9.3. Today we are continuing to work on solving quadratics in their square roots form. And also we'll be approximating. And approximating, that's the reason you need your calculator. So pause right now to get your materials if you need to. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started. If you don't have your notes page with you, that's fine and dandy, but let's go ahead and if you need to pause so that you can write down the problem. So we're still solving using square roots. These square roots just look a little bit different, so we have to do a couple of extra steps. If you'll notice though, both of our numbers here are perfect squares. So we can go ahead and do what we've been doing and take the square root of both sides. Remember, the square root of anything squared is just the radicand itself. And then the square root of 25 is both a positive and a negative 5. Now, this is the part where we are not done because this is going to give us two solutions. So remember when we all the way back here, when our d value is positive, we're going to have two solutions. So looking here, our d value is positive 25, so we do have two solutions. So the first one, x minus 1, it could equal positive 5. Our second solution, x minus 1, could equal negative 5. And then from here, we solve. So add 1. So one of our solutions is 6. Same thing, add 1. And one of our solutions is x equals negative 4. So if we were to graph this parabola, would cross at positive 6 and negative 4. And it's upward facing, so I'm just going to say that it looks like this. But it doesn't. I'm just saying that. All right, let's take a look at letter B. So same thing. We've got perfect squares here, so we're just taking the square root of both sides. And we are left with x minus 3, and the square root of 16 is positive 4 and negative 4. So we have two solutions again. So x minus 3 could equal positive 4, and x minus 3 could equal negative 4. So we'll go ahead and add 3. One of our solutions, x equals 7. Over here for our second solution, x could equal negative 1. So there are your example problems. When you're ready to move on, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just hit pause. Right, here are the practice problems. So if you didn't print out the notes, then pause right now so that you can write down your practice problems. And then go ahead and pause just so you can practice working through them on your own. Make sure you're careful of problem number 5. Remember, we want to have that x squared equals d format. When you're ready, go ahead and press play again to see the worked out solutions. So we take the square root of both sides. And in this case, because our d value was 0, we have one solution. And our one solution is negative 7. On problem 5, we first need to divide both sides by 4 because we need to have our x squared equals d format. Okay, and now we do. And in case you were wondering, we've got perfect squares on both sides. So this comes out to be x minus 3, and then this comes out to be a positive or negative 3 over 2. because the square root of 9 is 3 and the square root of 4 is 2. So that means we've got x minus 3 could equal positive 3 over 2, and x over minus 3 could equal negative 3 over 2. And when I add 3 to both sides, I get x equals 9 over 2, or 4 1/2. And over here, I get x equals positive 3 over 2, or 1 1/2. Okay. On my last problem, square root both sides. Oopsie, got a little ahead of myself. Okay. So 2x minus 1 could equal positive 6. So I'll go ahead and solve that first. So x could equal 7 over 2. Okay. And 2x minus 1 could equal negative 6. So x could equal negative 5 over 2. Now, just a reminder that any of these can be in their decimal forms, that's fine. Okay, moving on to problem number 3. So this is where you'll need your calculator, so make sure you've got that for the approximations part. So we're going to be solving the equations using square roots. Because when we put these are not going to be perfect squares. When we put the numbers into our calculator, we're going to be rounding to the nearest hundredth. So same process still applies. We still need to get it into its x squared equals d format. So on this first problem here, we need to add 13 to both sides. So now I'm left with 4x squared equals 28. We need the x squared by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So now x squared is equal to 7. Okay, and when we square root both sides, we're going to get x equals positive negative, and our square root of 7 is 2.645. So when we round that to the nearest hundredth, we get 2.65. So our two solutions, x equals positive or negative 2.65. On letter B, same process. We need to move the 10 first. So let's subtract 10 from both sides. I'm left with 2x squared. 32 minus 10 is 22. I need the x squared by itself, so I'll divide both sides by 2. And I have x squared equals 11. When I get the square root of both sides, square root of 11, 3.316, so 3.32. So x equals positive negative 3.32. And that's how you do your approximations using a calculator. Here are 3 practice problems. So go ahead and pause the video to write these down if you don't have them down already. And go ahead and take a few minutes to work through the problems and then play the video when you're ready to go through the answers. All right, so I'm going to be subtracting 8 from both sides, giving me x squared equals 11. That's funny, we just did that one. So my x is positive negative 3.32. And over here, I need to add 2 to both sides. Divide by 5, divide by 5. So I get x equals a positive negative 0.63. Okay, here I'm adding 30 to both sides. And I'm getting the square root. And that comes out to be 3.37.